Kimberly Underwood, Director of Digital News Media at FCA International Signal Magazine. I'd like to welcome you to our Signal Media Executive Interview Series. Today, I'm sitting down with David Helbock from Identiv to speak about managing identity and the role of federal identity, credentialing, and access management, which is also known as FICAM. Identiv is headquartered in Fremont, California, and has operations centers around the globe. And at Identiv, Dave is the Director of Product Management. Dave has been an expert in the physical and electronic security industry for over 2 decades. And he's held management positions at both the federal government and at security systems manufacturers. Over the years, Dave's responsibilities have included roles in enterprise system design, product development, consulting, risk assessment, and leadership. At Identiv, David oversees a team of product managers focusing on access control, video, credentials, readers, intercoms, and the Identiv ecosystem of technology partners. He is a strong believer in complementary security designs and teaming with a variety of industry leaders to provide sustainable and manageable security solutions. And David has worked on a variety of FICAM physical access control and identity projects, which included identity vetting, and management, credentialing methods, smart cards, biometric applications, and mobile device management. In addition, David is Identiv's liaison to the General Services Administration FIPS 201 evaluation program, where Identiv has approved solutions for the 1301, 1302, and 2001 topologies. I'm so excited to speak with you, David, especially given your FICAM experience, and welcome.
And thank you so much, Kimberly. It's really nice to be here. I'm happy that you guys were able to have all this put together for the talk about FICAM and what Identiv has to offer.
Yeah, great. And maybe you can kind of start off with some of the basics. What exactly is federal identity, credentialing, and access management, or FICAM? And then kind of walk us through how does it apply to federal government end users, physical security, and information technology teams?
Yeah, so several decades ago, there were plans to roll out a way to identify the actual users that are logging into systems and using physical access control systems. What the government compromised on about 20 years ago was to use a smart card, and on the smart card, were going to be these authenticators to use for mechanisms to log into those systems. So the belief behind the theory behind FICAM was to have a vetting process. So the person is who they say they are. To have a governance process, right? All the policies and controls behind these systems that are using the authenticators, and then the actual issuance and management of the authenticators and the processes to issue the smart cards to the users, and make sure that the systems are also capable of using these authentication mechanisms and following the policies that the government provides to the FICAM systems as a whole.
Right, sure. And then can you walk us through kind of physical access control systems, those kind of products, and what does it mean for these packs to be FICAM ready?
So inside the government space, there's the way that the physical security specialists and alongside the information technology teams, they have to build systems that are based on risk assessments. Inside the risk assessment, they identify areas that require physical access control systems to be installed with different types of card readers and authentication mechanisms. So you could have a reader at your front entrance of your building, and then you have another reader maybe at the turnstile to go into the facility after you go through the first barrier, right? And then you have different access control mechanisms for the LAN rooms or mechanical rooms, different types of offices, different types of conference rooms. It depends on really what you're protecting and then the level of security for those areas. So you could have a one-factor reader that does PKI cake authentication. It's basically the card authentication key. And then could have another area that you go into that needs a two-factor reader. So you're doing your PIV off on your smart card with your PIV pin. And then so designing that system to utilize those smart card credentials that were issued based on the FICAM requirements, and then implementing those into the PACS system is how the government's been utilizing the smart cards.
Right, sure. And can you talk to us about tax product compliance? What does it mean for physical access control systems products to be FICAM compliant?
So the GSA APL team, the FIPS 201 evaluation program, came up with a list of requirements. It's actually a few hundred different requirements. And what you do with if you're a PACS manufacturer, like Identiv has a product called Hirsch Velocity. When you decide that you're going to build a FICAM compliant system, you go to the GSA APL lab, you fill out the application, you provide a bunch of different responses to all the requirements on how you satisfy those requirements, and then you submit your system. Depending on which system you do, there's a 1301 topology where it's a broad area of different types of manufacturers that came together to build a solution. There's a 1302 topology where it's end-to-end. It's one manufacturer built the solution. And there's also a 20.01 topology where you can use wireless card readers to do authentication transactions with wireless readers. So when you work through the list of requirements and you fill out how you comply with the requirements, they actually go in return and test every single thing that you say in order for those systems to be listed on the GSA APL. And then that in turn allows the government access to those systems to say which ones are approved for them to install into their facilities to protect the people and the assets in those facilities based on the approval from the GSA APL team.
Right, sure. And is this a mandate? Is FICAM PACS a mandate? Or is it a mandate depending kind of on the agency you're in? How's that work?
So most of the requirements with FIPS 201 actually apply to the executive agencies. So any executive agency branch that is installing physical access control systems and performing risk assessments is mandated to comply to the standards using HSPD 12 as the baseline. FIPS 201, that's the vetting criteria in order for the person to be identified, and then the actual technology component of the FIPS 201 is how the cards are produced for the people that were vetted in that FIPS 201 standard. So typically I see, most of our customers are executive agencies, and then the other agencies are starting to we're seeing a trend where other agencies are also starting to issue smart cards to their users outside of the executive agencies as well.
Right, sure. I imagine the issuance of those types of cards or kind of solutions would give them more flexibility, but still have that security.
That's right. So that's the goal is to stop using prox cards. The cards without keys to associate the card. There's no authentication mechanism, and behind FICAM, on the authenticator's side of FICAM is you're saying, hey, this was a valid card, the valid person, and you're actually authenticating the transaction prior to authorizing the transaction. So what the way that the smart cards work in this scenario with these agencies is you present the card to the controller, it does a challenge response. Okay, that is a good card, it's authenticated. Now does that card have access to that area as well? And those proven technologies are now being incorporated, even outside the government. We're seeing an increase in PKI based authentication mechanisms for physical access control systems.
Right, sure. And then can you walk us through kind of Identiv's approach to FICAM PACS? Tell us about your solutions and kind of, what's different and unique and kind of what areas you'd like to highlight.
Yeah, so what we as an Identiv probably have been listed, I think 6 or 7 years now. We had our first solution was a 1301 solution where we teamed up with another organization to provide a physical access control solution that met the FIPS 201 requirements. And then we did some internal engineering and development, and we decided to, in order to make the processes much faster. So the user experience at the door was there's a little bit of latency with the first generation, our 1301. So we decided to do a 1302 generation where we increased the speed, the time of speed at the door, and still was able to do the authentication request with the challenge response, but using our own engineered solutions to do those transactions. And then recently, about a year and a half ago, we were involved in historic buildings. And one of the requests from the historic buildings was to use wireless readers. So we weren't, they didn't have to drill holes through the walls and, have to apply for type of, almost like damage assessments for those buildings to be, have the installations completed. So what we did was we teamed up with one of the wireless organizations that are in the physical access industry, and then created a wireless solution using the physical access control, the PIV cards that are issued by the government to do authentication with wireless readers and not have to run all those cables through the historic facilities. So those three solutions are all available through Identiv. Our 1302 solution is our quickest solution. When you're talking about time of access and actually doing the authentication and then entering the door. And we believe that is our one big advantage, large advantage, is because that speed.
And David, you're a liaison at the GSA FIPS 201 evaluation program. Can you kind of talk to us about that, what that is, and kind of what you're seeing as the liaison? What kind of considerations are they working on, and kind of what's coming down the pike? Thanks.
Yeah, so since we work with the lab so often, we get to work with the government employees that are managing the lab, as well as the contracting company that is managing the lab for the government. So they're based out of Herndon, Virginia. I'm actually at our office in Arlington. So luckily we don't have to do a lot of remote work because we're within 30 minutes of each other. So, and what's neat about being the liaison is, we're part of the application processing components. We can help with the requirements if they need help with the requirements. They also ask us to get input. We have at Identiv, we have an identity group in the company that actually builds the FIDO2 keys. So FIDO2 is another authentication mechanism that the government is looking into using as maybe in PACs, as a theory. Some of the other programs that we're talking about with the APL team are the mobile credentials. So using, a derived credential on your mobile device to enter the door, not just your PIV card. All keeping with the same authentication and authorization mechanisms, everything's still in compliance, but giving the agencies some more flexibility to use other tools, not just a PIV card for physical access control entry. And that the agencies are moving to some of those tools on their mobile devices to use logical access control resources. If you've heard about zero trust, that a lot of times with zero trust, they want to know that, hey, you need to log in to see that resource. You don't get to log in and see the kingdom, right? So we're working with the APL on a lot of these requests and supporting how new mechanisms could be used and new authenticators could be used in the physical access control industry. So we're really excited about that. It's a neat time to be in the industry and actually see the growth. Not only continue to use the PIV cards, but also using these other mechanisms as they come out into production.
Right, sure. And anything else you wanted to highlight?
I just want, at Identiv, we have a full suite of solutions. So on my team here, and we do, the access control, we have enterprise access control solutions. We have video solutions, we have small to medium business solutions, we have other intercom solutions, and then we have a lot of different technology partners, as well as our own IGS group. So our Identiv Global Services team does professional services and then also custom solutions. So if you have a unique requirement that you don't necessarily see available commercial off the shelf COTS product, typically our IGS team can come help you build a system, a unique solution for your site in order to satisfy your requirements. So we are a full end-to-end manufacturer. We have several hundred channel partners around the globe. We have these systems in countless countries. So we're also on the commercial side. So we don't just focus on government, but we do spend a lot of energy making sure that we are building compatible systems that meet the requirements of the APL or other UL or other standardizations in order to satisfy the build outs when we work with our channel partners.
Right, sure. That all sounds great. We're definitely in an age where we kind of need all that vetting and security, and plus the freedom of having a mobile device to kind of,
Great.
be your smart card. So
And satisfy all the cyber requirements and hardening requirements and the cryptology. It is definitely a unique age because you want to make sure that you're installing these systems that can meet the cyber team's needs as well, right? There's a lot of work that needs to happen between the physical security specialists and the information technology teams. They're not necessarily always embedded together, but they do need to work together. And we provide those products so that both teams can understand, okay, this is how the relays and the locks and the cameras and all those sensors and technologies are going to help with the risk identifications on the physical security side. And then the IT team can come in and say, okay, I understand. All right, so this can be on the network. It has, FIPS 140 cryptology. You can have all your TLS requirements and any other requirements needed for those systems to ride on those networks. So we end up pretty often getting in the same room together with teams that don't necessarily collaborate, consistently. So it's an exciting time to see all of that start kind of, weaving together and becoming one large project.
right, sure. And are there any conferences or events you guys or shows you go to demonstrate any of your technology that we should know about?
Yeah, well, we normally do that. There are two big conferences a year are at the GSX, and that's in September typically, and ISC West is in end of March or April. Generally, those are our two big, and then we do a lot of regional conferences. So if you follow Identiv on LinkedIn or any other social platform, we'll normally post where our next conference is coming up. I think we also just did two larger security conferences in the UK. So we have a lot of UK presence over there, and different conferences happening. So it's our schedule is posted online and on our site. So it's definitely if you want to come see the product, meet the team. We have a lot of regional sales managers. We have a lot of sales engineers. I mean, it's a great place to work, a lot of fun, and they'll be able to teach you anything you want to know.
Well, very cool. And also for more information about Identiv, please visit their website, www.identiv.com. And there you can see more information on their federal ICAM related capabilities and their other solutions. Thank you, David, for walking us through all that. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Kimberly. That was fun. I had a good time.
Yeah,
Have a good
thank
day.
you. Thanks. Have a good day.